Hey guys, what is up and welcome to a new Tesla update video. So today, as per usual, let's go over Tesla stock. Let's go over the market. Let's talk about what is happening to Tesla stock, what we can expect moving forward, and all of that good stuff on obviously this, little bit of a shorter week since yesterday the market was, closed. So all that being said and done, ladies and gentlemen, if you enjoyed, don't forget to hit that like button. This is not financial advice. I am not a financial advisor. And of course, if you do enjoy my technical analysis, my thoughts on the charts, etc., well, I do share my thoughts with my members every single day the market is open. Again, like every single day for just $3 a month, right? So definitely check it out if you're interested. That link is down below. Mainly on Tesla stock for the $3 tier. Sometimes I'll share other stocks. Like lately, I actually shared Lulu, which I actually didn't enter. I wish I entered. Where was that Lulu post? I just saw it. It was somewhere down here. Where's Lulu? Amazon, Bears, blah, blah, blah. This one here, Lulu. I wish I entered this. It was actually a pretty damn good entry. It ended up pretty nice and green, but I didn't actually enter that myself. But anyways, I do share sometimes other things. Or for $5 a month, you get access to everything. The first tier, sometimes, not sometimes. Everything in the first tier plus NVIDIA. My goodness, I'm like losing my train of thought. Anyway, let's just jump into it. My goodness. Tesla closing the day down ever so slightly, 0.5%, closing at 354.11, which obviously compared to the market is going to be a little bit of an underperformance, but nothing too crazy. Now, the way Tesla looks is pretty simple, in my opinion, at least for now, for the short term. I think for the short term, I'm still overall expecting a pop to the upside. It did actually end up giving back most of its pre-market gains. So if I go to, let's say, I don't know, 15-minute chart, we turn on extended hours, you can see, it did actually have a nice little rally towards the top end of about, the low 360s, I should say, gave up most of it, and then honestly didn't really do a whole lot for the day, right? And when it did sell off a bit, I did actually sell a cash you could put for Friday, mainly because again, I do have that, shorter term bullish bias, I guess you can say, on Tesla stock, right? Because I do ultimately still expect Tesla to make its way higher to about, like, my first main target honestly is about the 370s, right? The 370s on the daily and the 4-hour is essentially a reversion back to the mean, and that's kind of what I more or less expect for Tesla to do for the short term, right? But the main caveat here is as long as we hold about 347, 348, something like that, like, that two-ish, we'll say, dollar range of support. As long as we continue holding that, my bias is to the upside. Again, like I said, pretty much entering the 370s, something like that, maybe even poking our head into the 380s. Best case scenario is getting close to 390, where we essentially will do what NVIDIA did, which I'll talk about in the NVIDIA video today, obviously after this one. The trend line, right? The downward, because we are in a downward channel, obviously, right? It will be essentially that trend line resistance, if you will, right? And that will be like that kind of main, like, upper end target if we even get there. I'm not sure if we'll actually go that high personally. Maybe we will, again, in the mid-ish 380s if it happens this week, for instance. It is a possibility, but my main target, that's, in my opinion, a little bit more on the conservative side, is essentially poking our head into the 370s, right? Which again, is an area that gave us previous resistance. And, I do expect it to act like as some previous support, and now should act as a bit of a resistance. So let's see how it actually plays out, but that's kind of my main target. And then from there, we'll see, how the stock reacts accordingly, right? Because, there is a chance that what we do is essentially get like almost like an Elliott wave A, B, C type move to the upside here. And then, there's a chance that we do get an actual rejection at around that trend line resistance, right? And then we do make our way back down, right? That is a very real possibility. At the very least, back down closer to this gap fill-ish area, back to the 340s. Worst case scenario will be, of course, all the way back down to essentially the bottom end of this channel once again, which I don't know if we'll actually get that, but that is kind of the worst case scenario if that were to happen. But again, one step at a time. First, let's focus on this little move to the upside. I personally, obviously, I'm not a guru, right? I don't have a crystal ball, right? I don't know for sure, but I personally don't think we will make our way to the bottom right away. I do pretty strongly believe that there should be one more move to the upside before any potential move back down even occurs. That's just my opinion. I don't think that this kind of parabolic move to the downside happens, and this is the only pop we get, and just to move down even further. I don't see that happening. It wouldn't make a whole lot of sense to me personally, right? Just, from years of staring at the stock and just the charts in general. What was that? I don't know what that was. Oh, that was on Twitch. Sorry. Anyways, so that's kind of my overall perspective. Now, moving back to the 1 hour here on Tesla stock, this is kind of what I'm watching, right? This is kind of what will determine whether or not we get that pop or not, which again, I still view as more likely than not, but it is both like, right? Essentially, this is both like, right? So we had that massive sell-off, had the nice little bounce, had a beautiful rally that was pretty, obviously, pretty quick. And now we're essentially consolidating sideways after this massive rally. In other words, essentially making this little bull flag, bull pennant, whatever you want to call it, ultimately the same idea in the sense that we are going sideways, consolidating after a nice decent move to the upside. And usually these obviously result into further continuation patterns. This is a continuation pattern ultimately. Now it doesn't have to be, nothing is guaranteed, nothing is 100% in the market. You have to make sure you understand that first and foremost. Nothing is guaranteed. This can fail and go back down to the bottom, right? Or to the downside essentially, and make our way well back into the low 340s, for instance, right? That is a possibility. However, I personally believe that there is a much higher chance. I would give it at least a 70% chance, probably even closer to 80% chance that we do pop to the upside from this little bull flag. So this is kind of what I'm watching in the more kind of, interim, if you will. But assuming this does play out, and assuming we do break out, which essentially would be ideally a break back above, honestly, like 357 roughly, I think would be pretty convincing in my opinion. 359 even, in something around there, a break above that would be pretty convincing to the upside. And that is what I think probably by the end of the week is my guess, honestly, will bring us up to this main target that I have higher up here. So let's see how this ultimately plays out, but that's kind of my main perspective on Tesla stock. The weekly chart still looks pretty decent as well. If I go over to the weekly chart here, you can see, we again reverted right back over into that mean, right? Nice massive rally, reverted back into the mean, which is of course essentially, this market bias, if you will. Our RSI is pretty close to oversold as well, which I like to see. And we are holding pretty well around this general vicinity right now, around this mean. And I still believe that there's at least a short-term pop to the 370s. Best case scenario though, like a true bullish best case scenario, is we just pop from here, right? Is that this is not a downward channel. Instead, what we're in is essentially a bit of a wedgie type situation. We already had the double touch point, 1 2 3 4, 2 touch points at the bottom, that's 4 touch points. And the 5th touch point, maybe we break out right away, maybe we touch, get a small retrace and then break out. This is like the best case scenario for the bulls. Yeah, that's kind of how this can potentially play out as well. But again, this is the bull case scenario. And the only way to really confirm this is to essentially get closures back above this trend line, which is something NVIDIA, for instance, tried to do, but couldn't do. You can kind of see NVIDIA, very similar setup over here. I know the chart looks messy because I have both my bands set up, right? I like looking at stocks with both of them on because I trade mainly off of mean reversion and bands, with patterns, of course. But nonetheless, just a quick example as to what I'll talk about in my NVIDIA video. Same idea, right? Tesla is kind of like right here, I would say right now, right? This is kind of where Tesla's at. Like it's somewhere around this vicinity. And I expect this kind of move on Tesla as well, essentially roughly to that trend line resistance. Like I said, again, 380s potentially, 370s, 380, something like that. But then it could also potentially get a rejection line, like NVIDIA so far is getting, right? So again, let's see how it plays out, but watch for that 1 hour bull flag. I think that's kind of where it's really at. So let's see how that ultimately plays out. Let me turn on my bands again. I know it looks pretty messy and some people are probably looking at this going like, how the hell does he read this? But these bands are one and the same, right? They serve the same purpose. I just get a bit more information. But anyways, that's a different story for another time. But yeah, that's my main perspective. Take a quick look at options flow on Tesla stock. Let's see what's happening here. For the most part, pretty mixed. Nice little bullish flow towards the end of the day. You can see mix of bullish and bearish flow towards the end of the day, but pretty much right before the market closed, 10 minutes before, we did get some nice bullish calls, some of which are for this Friday 355 strike, which is out of the money slightly, of course, which is good. Nearly 500K, 500,000 of calls came in for that, which is nice to see. I like to see that. And then 380 call came in above the ask pretty much right before the market closed as well for the 21st of next month, which is also pretty nice to see as well. So I like to see these kind of things. That is pretty good to see. Not overwhelmingly bullish, of course, right? It's not crazy, but better than not, I guess you can say. So anyways, that's my current perspective. Let's see what happens, and I'll see you all on tomorrow's video. Peace.